Okay, here we are. Here we go. It's been a long time, but I'm just ready, So much to talk about, so much to cover. I'm 20 now. I'm older, I'm wiser. And I am ready for another podcast episode because I think, the more time we spend apart from one another, and not even just apart from one another, but apart from talking about these important situations and scenarios, the harder it gets to almost understand in a way, and I think that's what we're here for. It's really easy to kind of get in that place of, okay, I've done my time, I've done what I'm supposed to do, but some things you just can't get away from. So I'm back. I'm ready for this episode. I asked you guys to ask me questions a long time ago, so you've probably all forgot about them, but that's the fun of it. I get to remind you of your questions, of your burning questions, and we get to talk about them today. Okay, first one. Conspiracy theory: is Tupac still alive? I'm really glad we're starting off with this question because, I think when we talk about theories and especially really the fragility of life, it's such a funny thing because, when we begin having these conversations, and talking about these things, it's really different, there's a different weight to it. So yeah, I think, some things we honestly will never know the answer to, and that is where these conversations can really come alive because we're able to have that dialogue with one another and really just get a lot of different perspectives. So with something like this, I think that's really just the approach we have to take, but great question. Okay, so this is really taking it back to the first episode, I believe it was. This is a two-part question. Can you clarify the difference between inter and understanding, and maybe just go deeper on overstanding? And this is actually a perfect example of all three of them. Clarification and maybe going deeper on certain subject matters, I think, really take us back to inter, over, and understanding. It's a 3-in-1, not to be confused with the Holy Trinity. It's very separate, but it is kind of these workings of the mind kind of get us in the place where, like, you have to identify what standing you have, like what is your stance on a certain issue and how do you think about certain things. So I think understanding, we all know what that is. Understanding, I think, is that next level to where we kind of get inside of the topic and really unpack it and dissect it and really get to the nitty-gritty of the situation, the scenario, whatever the case may be. But I think overstanding is where we've maybe, just maybe, gone a little too far, I think we have to be really careful to, in a way, guard against overstanding because it's so easy, it's so easy to kind of fall in that trap of getting in too deep to something. And also, understanding isn't to be confused with, like, getting in your head. Like, that's not what we're doing here. I would say in order to grasp and really delve into these conversations and these topics, we really have to be in a place where it's really like a good balance between the three. So that's my thoughts on that. Next one, I don't have a question, I just want a new episode. Well, here you go. I'm after the fans' heart, you know. As much as I try not to be in that place, I just really can't get away from wanting to do it for the fans. So next one, this one really got me and I think is so important because the question, let me just first start off with the question, obviously. And I really want you to really listen and begin to understand and even understand if you're able to. Why does and when? So I'm really glad this question was asked because this is definitely something a lot of people do not want to talk about. This is just one of those issues that people tend to shy away from. And I really think, I've been thinking about this a lot lately, but it really goes into knowing with, you know, and I think honestly with that, it kind of makes me think of like the word behave. If we can see it right here. It's be and have, but we pronounce it behave. In order to be and in order to have, you must behave. It's kind of like if you know the whole Kansas-Arkansas debate, it kind of makes me think of that because, I mean, honestly, we're in a time now where, you know, I think everyone just has to really grab a hold of their truth and really kind of know what truth they're standing on. So I could talk about these things all day. We've got one question left that I really want to be able to really unpack it just a little bit. Last question is, what like is time? And wow, you know. I just want to start off by saying I am no expert. I am no guru about certain things. I'm no expert about certain things, but I think there comes a point in time, you know, like we're talking about what like is time. I think there comes a certain point where we have to understand that not everything is the way it seems. You know, there's kind of a flip side to everything. And honestly, I think if we sort of unpack and take a quick look under the hood at some of these issues, what we will find will indeed shock us, you know? So with this question in time, I think, and this might sound really silly to some, but it's just my truth. It's where I'm at. Like, it takes time to understand. And I don't know if I don't think it's so much of like a deposit and withdrawal type of situation, but I think with that, it's just so important to know where you stand. And yeah, we're only here for such a short amount of time. And we have to make the most of it. So that's what I would say to that. There's a lot of topics I still want to cover, and I know there's just so many questions that we all still have. And this was a bit of a longer episode, but I think it's worth it to begin to, and I've only scratched the surface, if even that, you know. So I know we're kind of getting a little long here, right? But I just wanted to say thank you guys for taking the time out to come back each time I post a new one of these and really open up your mind and sort of stand with me on a lot of these issues and topics. Because there's so many things that need to be talked about, and we're simply just not. So thank you for being willing and having the understanding and the mindset to sort of look inside yourselves and see what other perspectives kind of have to offer. So happy Thanksgiving. You know, there's so much to be thankful for, and I think if we take the time to really reflect, then we'll be able to be opened up to so much more than we could have ever thought possible. I think thankfulness is truly the start of real understanding. So that's all I got. You know, I'm so glad we got to do this. Continue to leave your questions, send them in to us. Me and my team would love to look through them and take the time to answer your questions, because I think conversation is just so important and leads to so much. Okay, I'm rambling, right? But it's been great. It's been real. It's been real great. We'll see you guys in the next episode.